And what I did is just before I left, knowing that the landlord wasn't going to want mulch back here, I filled the keyhole garden with all the mulch that used to be here. Now, when we got rid of the chickens and we got rid of the ducks and sent them over to Nikki's, there was zero vegetation back here. There was mulch and that was it. And what happened was, within a week and a half of us not having the ducks, we started to have these little tiny bits of green coming up that we hadn't seen before. And now what it looks like is, it looks like this, you know, jungle back here, and you can see exactly where I've taken the mulch up. And you can see exactly where I left the mulch. And you can see that if I were to come in and pull things up, you know, I'd have a job to do, but if I were to reintroduce ducks and if I were to reintroduce chickens, all of a sudden I wouldn't have anything green back here anymore. So this is the keyhole garden, and it looks like it's doing just fine. We've had peas that have come up, we have all sorts of herbs in the back, and we have some greens that have gone to seed. Now, in a normal situation for me, what I would do, I think those are mustard. That's what I think those are, is mustard. In a normal situation like this, what I would do is that if I had it planted this thickly, I would go in and I would snip and I would cut and I would pull out the excess. The reason I planted so heavily was just I wanted something to survive and I didn't know what it would be. And so with the bed like this, 3/4 of it ends up going to the rabbits, and the rest of it feeds us, and it works really well. So we've got parsley in here, we have peas, parsley, peas. That actually looks like German chamomile right there. We have some onions. What else do I see?
Oh, I put more comfrey
I've got
in.
some carrots and maybe some fennel.
You had more comfrey.
Oh, and John planted me some official comfrey that came in a box that I wanted to keep separate, so he planted the comfrey. And we probably also have some elecampane in there somewhere. And what's going to happen is Nikki's going to come in and bring boxes, and we're going to box it up and take it to her garden, and she's going to take all the substrate. And this bed will break down in probably half an hour, is how long it would take to break this down. And again, it's full of wood mulch that had been pooped on by the chickens and the ducks. So that's what the wood mulch is. And then on the top, I have a little bit more intense amount of manure in some spots. I wanted to test it. And I'm pretty happy with it as an experiment. I like to have raised beds that are just about at chest height. They're just easy to work in and you don't get weeds in them, again, which I love. Okay, so look at this. So that's as much weeding as I had to do on this bed. All I'm really going to do is keep these creepers from creeping up onto the bed, and then I won't have to do any kind of weeding. If I had ducks, those creepers never would have been there. Okay, so when you build a bed that's meant to be kind of shepherded by ducks, you need to know that if you don't raise it up, what the ducks are going to do is they're going to stick their heads in the side and they're going to eat the roots of your plants. When I did my first raised beds that I wanted the ducks to patrol, they were straw bale beds, so they were only this tall, and the ducks would just stick their heads right in and they'd eat the roots of everything I had planted. And so the next time I did it, they're this tall, and now if I keep the ducks' wings clipped, they can't get up in here. But if I don't keep them clipped, they'll just fly up into the bed. One of the other solutions I have is to make a wire cage that goes over the top so that even if their wings are not clipped, they can't get into it. Same thing goes for deer, same thing goes for chickens. If you keep that wire cage over the top, it keeps birds out, it keeps squirrels out, it keeps everything out. More peas, yay. And we do have a little bit of predation. We got some worms that are coming in. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have some worms that are coming in and getting a couple of the plants, but it's only getting a couple of the plants. So again, if I had ducks here, what I would do is throw this on the ground and let the ducks eat it. Looks like caterpillar poop. So we're getting a little bit of that in here. We probably have a little bit too much greenery And if I were to leave that down like that and I had ducks back here, the ducks would be eating the leaves, which would be just fine if, you know, another way to get the ducks to have what they need. But there's parsley. I've got carrots and all sorts of other things splashed in there. And these guys are also not quite as happy. Oh, that's dill. That's dill. I also have some sage in here that would like a little more sunlight. And what I want to do really bad is just pull this guy out. This guy is a little diseased, so I'm going to put him down here away from the rest of my plant. I would just put that in the new hotbed. I'd put that in the new hotbed if I had a new hotbed that I was getting ready to plant, because that was the only thing in here that's diseased. It's the only thing I'm seeing that's something. It's the only place I saw anything. So it was kind of like, sometimes you'll get these. Oh, did I miss one?
I don't know. Is it the same?
Oh, it's the same kind of plant.
So something about the plant?
Yeah, it's
Breed.
Here, let me explain it.
Sure.
A lot of times in a garden bed you can find a type of plant that everything wants to navigate towards. And those particular ones are like a cabbage family type of a moth. And a lot of times if you put in like a sacrificial plant, all the nasties will be attracted towards the sacrificial plant and leave everything else alone. It makes me really sad to pull those out without ducks here. The lovely thing about having livestock in a garden is that even if something starts to die, you can feed it to something and they'll eat the eggs and they'll eat the adult and they'll eat the plant. So it just removes all that disease and all those creepers from your biosystem. So I'm super happy. So as far as the keyhole garden, for ease of putting it together for like a spring garden, I think it's fantastic. You can make it as cute or as fast or as easy or as glamorous as you want it to be. For a winter garden, I would always highly recommend, or even for just an extremely productive garden, I would highly recommend the hotbed. For a garden that you're going to be putting perennials in, I liked the front bed garden that just had the bricks and the cardboard underneath. That worked really well. I personally don't like to plant in soil because I don't like to mess with weeds, and I don't like to have to worry about where the dirt's been. Is it truly organic? What were the ingredients and everything? So that's just what I like to do. And this is what they look like. It looks like I need to come and take down the plastic a little bit too, take down the frost bed. But good job, babe, for keeping it alive. Thank you.
Hey, hey.
I really wanted to be able to show that this works in Tulsa the same way it works in Idaho, because we did plant that. We planted this one in February. We planted this one in March. And they're both working well. They're both producing food, whether it be for rabbits or for people. And I do like to plant very thickly and then harvest and then plant more and then harvest. I do not just have one garden all year. I'm constantly planting, constantly harvesting, and constantly kind of paying attention to what's happening in my garden. And so yeah, what I would like to do is take out some of these pea vines. Really, I'd like to take them out. Because I've got some sage here. Can you see the sage? Even in this bed with freezing weather, these pea vines protected the sage and protected the dill so that they weren't getting frozen. And that is one thing that they're kind of like nanny plants. If you plant your cold weather seeds close enough together and then you make sure that you harvest them so that they're not keeping the sunlight out, they'll act as something of a frost barrier. So parsley, chives, comfrey, and that looks like elecampane. All sorts of fun stuff in here. So thanks for keeping it alive.
Oh, hey.
And we'll talk to you later.
I got an odd flavored salad out of it, so.
Well, it would have been
Nice.
turnip greens.
Yo te traigo esta bomba puertorriqueña. Yo te la traigo de Cupey, de Vega Baja y de Santurce, de todas partes de Puerto Rico. Esta bomba yo la dedico a toda mi gente de Puerto Rico, a la familia Fontanera. beato.
My little ones made me breakfast this morning, so I'm gonna go eat real quick and then I'll be back. I do want to put it in evenly around and then make another layer around and then make another layer around so that it is evenly distributed. What I do wish is I wish that I had quite a bit of rabbit manure to put in here. Keep that in mind that if you're using a chemical fertilizer, you're not creating soil. You're just feeding the plants. If you're using rabbit manure or chicken manure or compost, something that has some good bacteria in it, then you're creating soil because that bacteria is going to go down into the mulch and it'll start turning it into soil. But again, no rabbits, no livestock. No manure.
No bueno.
No more?
No bueno. No good.
No good? And I just watered these guys really well. They had been suffering a little bit, and I don't actually remember what everybody is. Do we have any milk jugs left?
Go make one.
Like, are they clear or are they the white plastic?
Clear.
Okay. Yes, I would love it if you'd go make one.